Okay, so let's set the scene. You've been in a car accident, you're trying to recover, and your doctor gives you a treatment plan. You send it off to your auto insurer, and you get a letter back saying no. It is so frustrating. It feels like hitting a total brick wall. But here's the thing, it's not the end of the road. There's a process, there are rules, and today we're going to walk through exactly what you need to do.
So yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? They said no. Now what? It can feel super overwhelming, I get it. But don't you worry. We are going to break down the exact steps you can take so you'll know precisely what your next move is.
We've laid this all out for you in 5 clear sections. First, we'll talk about that denial letter. Then we'll get into something called the insurer's examination. After that, we'll decode the letter itself, show you how to fight the decision, and wrap up with your core rights. Just think of this as your personal roadmap. So let's dive right into section 1, a denial in the mail. Look, before you can even think about challenging a decision, you've got to understand the rules of the road that everyone, and I mean everyone, including the insurance company, has to follow.
And those rules, they're all laid out in this really important regulation called the Statutory Accident Benefits Schedule. We just call it the SABS for short. You can think of the SABS as the official rulebook for auto insurance here in Ontario. It spells out exactly what you're entitled to after an accident, and it doesn't matter whose fault it was. This isn't just some company policy, This is the law. Now, this right here, this is where everything hinges. It all comes down to this one critical phrase, reasonable and necessary. According to the SABS, that's the legal test. Your treatment has to meet it. So your doctor might say it's absolutely necessary, but the insurer can turn around and say it's not. And that disagreement is almost always the root of the problem. They might argue it's not necessary because there's a cheaper way, or maybe not reasonable because they don't see the medical proof. Understanding this phrase is absolutely key. So that leads us right into section 2, the insurer's examination. How does an insurer actually challenge whether your treatment is reasonable and necessary? Well, they have a very specific tool they can use.
And that tool is called an insurer examination, or just an IE. What is it? Well, it's basically a second opinion that the insurance company pays for. Under the SABS, they have the right to get another perspective on your injuries and treatment plan from a health professional that they choose. But, and this is a really big but, they can't just do whatever they want. The SABs has very strict rules they have to follow. They are required to give you proper written notice, at least 5 business days. They have to tell you why they think the exam is necessary, and they must pick a qualified and regulated professional to actually do the assessment. See? They have rights, but they also have some very clear obligations to you.
Moving on to section 3. Okay, let's say the IE is done, or maybe they just denied it without one. Either way, you're going to get their official decision in a document called an Explanation of Benefits, or EOB. This is the letter you really, really need to understand.
And this is why. The law is crystal clear on this. It says the insurer shall provide the insured person with the medical and any other reasons for its determination. A simple no just doesn't cut it, legally speaking. They are required by law to tell you why. So when that EOB arrives, it's time to put on your detective hat. Here's your checklist. Does it say exactly what's being denied? Does it give you specific medical reasons or just vague ones? If they did an IE, is that report mentioned? And here's a big one. Does it tell you how to dispute the decision? This letter isn't just a denial. It's a critical piece of evidence, so you need to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. All right, section 4. You've read the denial. You understand their reasons, but you still believe the treatment is necessary. Now what? Now it's time to take action. This is your path to resolution. Okay, so here's the formal process. Step 1, like we just talked about, is to analyze that denial letter. Step 2 is to start gathering your own evidence. Get those reports and opinions from your own doctors that support your case. Step 3 is the big one. You have to file an application with something called the License Appeal Tribunal, or the LAT. That officially kicks off the dispute. From there, you'll usually have a case conference, which is really just a chance to solve the issue with a mediator before it goes to a full-blown hearing. So what is this LAT? It's so important to understand this isn't some insurance company courtroom. The License Appeal Tribunal is an independent, neutral body appointed by the government. Their only job is to hear both sides, yours and the insurer's, and then make a final decision based on the law and the medical facts. Think of them as the referee. And that brings us to our last and, honestly, our most important section, know your core rights. I know this has been a lot of information, so let's just boil it down to the absolute essentials you need to remember. Let's just run through this one more time. You have the right to a clear, written reason for any denial.
you have the right to proper notice before any insurer's exam. That exam must be done by a qualified professional. And maybe most important of all, you have the absolute right to dispute the insurer's decision at the License Appeal Tribunal. These aren't just helpful tips, these are your guaranteed rights under the law.
So let's just end with this thought. Is this process easy? Well, honestly, it can be really challenging and stressful, especially when all you want to do is focus on getting better. But it is a process, and it does have rules. And understanding those rules, knowing your rights and knowing the steps you can take, that knowledge is your first and your most powerful tool. It takes you from just being someone who gets a decision in the mail to being an active participant in your own recovery.